Okay.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Great to see all of you. Welcome to Ahavat Shalom. Welcome to all of you who are sitting from the comfort of your own home. So glad to have you with us on one of our Shabbat evenings during the summer. I'm joined on the bima. Our soloist for this evening is Michelle Konigsberg, and Joy Katzen-Guthrie is down on the ivories. You're waving, but they can't see you at home. But everyone here is waving to you, and I'll wave to you too. So we're going to open with a nigun. This could be a new one for you. Rabbi Shlomo Karba was a troubadour of sorts in the 60s and 70s. He made a lot of great synagogue music, and this nigun, to the words of Ki Moed, which means the time is now. You'll see that on the screen behind us, this Carlebach nigun for Shabbos. Yalai, 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 Hope you enjoyed that nice nigun, almost wordless melody with The Time Is Now. Kiva Moed. Michelle's going to lead us and light these lights before we kindle our 2 Shabbos candles.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
In the prayer book, you'll find the bracha, blessing for the candles, on 2. In this week's Torah portion, we learn about a choice that Moses sets before the people in the Parsha, the weekly portion called Re'eh, which means to see or to look. And I'll share this poem by Ruth Bryn entitled The Choice. See, this day I set before you blessing and curse. Are we free as the birds? Yes, and more free, for birds fly by the charts of instinct and make no choice in the pattern of their existence. Are we as free as the angels? Yes, and more free, for angels, if they exist, live beyond evil and face no agonizing choices. Sometimes we seem like little children, round-eyed before a holiday table, permitted for once to reach for the sweetest cake. But we are neither children nor winged creatures. We're human beings. Freedom to choose is our definition, and the ability to choose well, our portion of destiny. We thank you, God, who is the source of our freedom. We turn to you and pray to you when we pace the dark corridors of decision. Let us make each choice with wisdom, and let us always choose blessing and peace. We're going to turn to the words of Lecha Dodi, one of the Kabbalat Shabbat prayers on page 20 and 21. And we're going to bring Simon and Garfunkel to the fore. And this is going to be to the song Scarborough Fair. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Tehene Shabbat ikabla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Tehene Shabbat ikabla. Shamor v'zachor b'diburecha, Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem tiferet v'litilah. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, Yihi mekor ha'beracha, Merosh mekedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'mashvatilah. Doreri, Iva orek umi uri, shir daberi, Yivod Adonai alayik nigla. And let's rise and face the doorway, greeting the Sabbath bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'tzola, Toch emunei am segula, Boi chala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Tehene Shabbat ikabla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Tehene Shabbat ikabla. Feel free to be seated. We have greeted the Shabbat bride, the Shabbat Kala. We'll turn now to Words of segue on page 26, words of praise, the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, B'alma divrach yirutei, B'amlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yom echon, Uv'chayedcho bet Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, Uv'izman kariv, V'yamiru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mivarach Le'alam U'almei Amaya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitale V'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha Brichu Le'elam Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbichata v'nechemata damiram b'alma v'yamiru. Amen.
And now we'll move from the Kabbalat Shabbat, receiving Shabbat, part of the service, to Shema and its blessings. And I'll ask us to rise for the call to worship the Baruch Hu, found on 28. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamivorach. Baruch Hu Adonai Amivorach. Baruch Adonai Amvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Amvorach Leolam Va'ed. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Let's continue with Ma'ariv Aravim for creation on page 31. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. And words of love on the bottom of 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What can be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We'll open our eyes and then say God is one.
Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Feel free to be seated. Let's chant the words of the V'ahavta found on 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech u'shochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim leloechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'aretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. After these words of love and teaching from the Torah and the book of Deuteronomy, we'll continue with words of truth and faith, emet ve'emunah, found on 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we are taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. As we sing these words of freedom, Mi Kamocha. Mi Kamocha Bailim Adonai. Mi Kamocha Nedar Bakodesh Mi Kamocha Bailim Adonai Mi Kamocha Nedar Bakodesh Norati Lo Kamocha Bailim Adonai Mi Kamocha Nedar Bakodesh Mi Kamocha Bailim Adonai Mi Kamocha Nedar Bakodesh Norati Lo Osefelen Norati Lo Osefelen. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. I think all of us right now are looking for shelter and safety and protection, and this prayer said every evening by many Jews before they go to sleep, as well as the evening service, Hashkivenu, offers just that, page 42 in the prayer book.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Behamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Behamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Ushmor Seiteinu Uvoenu L'chaim u'shalom Me'ata ve'ad olam.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Behamidenu
Eloheinu Lishalom
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Behamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim.
Hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. And the Chatima, the closing words of the blessing. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We'll continue now by rising for the words of the tefillah, thanking God for our ability to speak and to bless. Page 46.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim v'Koneh Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Gula Livnei V'neihem L'man Shemo B'Yahava. Melech Hoser u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayeh Hakol, Atah Rav Leoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Micha mocha ba'al kivurot umidom elach. Melech memid umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atah lechayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol.
Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'kol yom yalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Feel free to be seated after these blessings for the generations, the Dorot, for our lives and health, and for holiness. We'll continue with the middle blessings of the Tefillah. First, Kiddushat Hayom, special prayer for Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. And for Avodah, for prayer, Baruch atah Adonai HaMachazir Shechinato L'Tzion, that God's presence will always return to Zion. And for gratitude, Baruch atah Adonai Hatov Shimcha V'cha Na'eh Lechodot. And our final prayer of the Tefillah is Shalom Rav, our prayer of peace on 60. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people, forever, for you're the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. So we take these few moments for our own thoughts and prayers and reflections. You can feel free to join us in the singing of Yehiyu L'Ratzon. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be accepted by God, our rock and our redeemer. Page 62. Yehiyu L'Ratzon, Imrei fi, Egyon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu L'Ratzon, Imrei fi, Egyon libi lefanecha. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri v'goali. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri v'goali. Yehiyu L'Ratzon, Imrei fi, Egyon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu L'Ratzon, Imrei fi, Egyon libi lefanecha. Turning to the middle of our prayer books, if we are holding them on page 253, we'll find words of healing and prayer, asking God for strength and courage to those who are ill. At this Shabbat, we especially remember at this time, in addition to all those who are in need of healing throughout the world, Yonatan Reuven ben Rivka, Charlie Burke, Marcy Bunn, Lisa Cargile, Charlotte Cohn, Emily Cruz, Carol Curtis, Eddie Deerfield, Edie Eckber, Evelyn Edelman, Heather Felser, Harry Fleisch, Denise Freifeld, Mitchell Freifeld, Leah Gottlieb, Don Hirschman, Nan James, Arthur Maller, Ray Mancari, Arnold Miller, William Miller, Stephanie Ross, Nicole Ruman, Mary Helen Schumann-Groh, and Jeff Stark. If there are any other names to add for healing at this time, either at home or here in the sanctuary.
Misheberach avoteinu rich, to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikol habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
As some of you might be aware, there's a tradition in Jewish circles to start every lesson or talk or Devar Torah, every sermon, with a text. The goal is to find something that opens up our eyes and our heart to an essential teaching that's relevant to our lives. Now, most of the time, the text is taken from the weekly Torah portion, Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, perhaps a rabbinic commentary, either ancient or modern. But this evening, I'm going to continue this tradition, albeit with a twist, because the text that I'm about to share with you isn't found anywhere in the Jewish pantheon of writings. Instead, it comes from, in my opinion, another authoritative source on life, wit, wisdom, and philosophy, none other than Charles Schulz, the creator of Peanuts. Now, usually his cartoon cells are 4 in a row, enough for one line of newspaper print. This particular cartoon has 8 cells in total, and it opens with Lucy, Linus, and everyone's favorite Charlie Brown standing on a grassy hill. Lucy says, looking up to the sky, "Aren't these clouds beautiful? They look like big balls of cotton." After the 3 of them lie down on the grassy hill to take a closer look, Lucy continues, "I could just lie here all day and watch them drift by. If you use your imagination, you can see lots of things in their formations. What do you see, Linus?" "Well," he says, "those clouds up there look to me like the map of the British Honduras on the Caribbean." Don't worry if you have to look that up. After pointing to another one, he continues, "And that cloud over there looks a little like the profile of Thomas Eakins, the famous painter and sculptor." And you'll be okay if you have to look that one up too. To this, Lucy responds, "That's very good." "What do you see in the Charlie Brown? What do you see in the clouds, Charlie Brown?" Lucy then asks. And Charlie's response, "Well, I was going to say that I saw a ducky and a horsey, but now I've changed my mind." I've been a Peanuts fan for many decades. I remember reading them as a kid with the actual newspaper. I watched all of their film specials for Halloween and stuff on TV. I've even spoken about Peanuts in talks or sermons from time to time. And I was reminded especially of this cartoon while reading over the weekly Torah portion in preparation for the service, called Re'eh, meaning look. Now, in the original context, Moses is talking to the Israelites, one of his 3 final speeches to the people. He says, "Re'eh, look and see, I'm setting before you life and curse, blessing if you obey God's mitzvot or commandments, and curse if you don't obey them. A pashat, or simple understanding of this verse, tells us that the choice is pretty black or white. If we do what's asked for us, we'll be rewarded with well-being. And if we don't, there'll be misfortune. Now, we might agree or disagree with the linear nature of this argument and perhaps even its theology. In essence, that's what the Torah is telling us. Yet a deeper understanding of this mandate to look or to see invites us to figure out our perspective on a given issue and really understand what we're looking at. Because what we see is very important, but it's not nearly as important as how we see it. In the cartoon, Lucy, Linus, and Charlie Brown, they were all looking at the same bunch of clouds, but each of them had a different interpretation of what they saw, from big balls of cotton to colonial maps of Central America, to the painter, to duckies and horsies, which is quite a wide swath. So it is with us. Every one of us can look at a given situation, yet our opinions of what's really happening can differ greatly from person to person. As an example, I'd like you to take a look at the following picture, which you're soon going to see. This is called the Crooked Forest, and it's found deep in Poland. Now, there are about 400 pine trees, each of which have a 90-degree bend at their base, which is really quite amazing. Theories abound for how these trees got their unusual shape. Some people think gravitational forces in the region made them happen like that. Some people think that heavy snows, which are common in Central Europe, flattened the trees over time. Some people even believe the trees were individually altered by hand, which would be seriously impressive. So I ask you, what do you see in this picture? Now, when I look at it, I see beautifully shaped chairs nestled in each tree. They look pretty comfy, even though they're a bit mysterious to find so many of these similarly shaped trees all in a single spot. Now, if we delve a bit deeper, I wonder if these repeated patterns happen just randomly, or if it's yet another powerful example of God's paintbrush at work. What we see and what we take away from this picture all depends on our perspective. Life demonstrates this lesson quite well. One person looks at what's involved in living a Jewish life and says, look at all those rules and regulations that I have to follow. It's stifling. It's just too much for me. While others look at living a Jewish life and say, look how meaningful and rich it is. They might even go a step further and come up with a new idea to make Jewish practice even better. To be sure, there are situations we encounter where it's very challenging to find a silver lining. There are tragedies and personal losses where emotions run deep and painful. But after some time has passed and we've reflected on what we've experienced, we can choose to look at events in a new light. With a change in perspective, we can respond positively to life's challenges. It's a shift in thinking, but it's important because this is how we can find joy and gratitude wherever we look, while other people might look at the same situation and find reasons for discontent in whatever they see or do. Take this modern spin on Elijah the prophet, the same Elijah we symbolically invite to our homes on Passover and sing about at Havdalah at the end of Shabbat on Saturday night. In this modern spin, Elijah visits a man at a local racetrack and tells him to bet on a certain horse. At first, the man resists because the horse loses way more than it wins. But Elijah insists, this horse is going to be the winner in this race. So the man goes to the betting window, and the clerk laughs at him for betting on such an unlucky horse. And to show the guy how silly this bet really is, the cashier gives him 1,000,000 to 1 odds. The man decides to put down $2, and sure enough, the horse wins. After the race, he walks up to the bettor's window to claim his prize, stuffing thousands of dollars into his jacket and pants pockets. But surprisingly, his face looks glum. He has a melancholy look. Someone noticing him pocketing all this money asks him why he's sad. The man replies, "Look at this. The only time I ever won with 1,000,000 to 1 odds, and all I bet was a measly $2. The command re'eh, look, is as valid today as it was in Moses' time. We can look upon life's experiences with eyes of hope, gratitude, and faith, or we can look upon these same experiences with eyes of anguish and despair. Moses implores us, uvacharta b'chaim. A little bit later in the book of Deuteronomy, he says, choose life. Every moment, every day, every week, and every year. We can choose to let go of negative thoughts and judgments. We can choose to live with uncertainty. We can choose the kind word and the generous manner. We can choose to accept the opportunities, challenges, and responsibilities that are a part of everyday living. Some of us might look up to the clouds and find comfort, like Lucy's image of the balls of cotton. Others may see intricate designs like Linus and his map of British Honduras. Still others see beautiful images like Charlie Brown with his ducks and horses. What's most important is the fact that all of us have the capacity to change our perspective, and in doing so, look at things in a new light. I have a hunch that many of us right now are looking at the recent pandemic surge with a mixture of worry and frustration. Just when we think things were turning a corner for the better, we're reminded of the staying power of this virus. We might be wondering what the high holidays will look like. I am too. And perhaps we may be steeling ourselves for a second Jewish New Year with limited numbers in the pews. We are living in quite challenging times. But I believe in my heart of hearts that we'll eventually rise above the pandemic together. In the meantime, I'll share the wisdom of Rabbi Naomi Levy, who writes, "Teach us, God, to turn our panic into patience, and our fear into acts of kindness and support. Our strong must watch out for our weak, and our young must take care of our old. Help each one of us to do our part to halt the spread of this disease." There are plenty of reasons in life for heartache. At the same time, I believe there are more than enough reasons for gratitude, faith, and hope. The choice, as Moses wisely tells us, is ours and ours alone to make. Shabbat Shalom. Let's rise now as we turn to the words of Aleinu, the adoration. You'll find these words on page 282 as the ark is opened.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה. שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים. Kadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Feel free to be seated. Let's turn now to page 294. These are words of praise, Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish. As we think of families in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days mourning a loved one. So we remember Bill Groom, husband of Judy Groom, Rebecca Belkin Rosenstein, friend of Lynn Rosenthal, Jean Patrick, mother of Sandra Plevin, and Howard Fink, friend of Tom and Dorsey Rose. To these names, we also add and mark the yahrzeit, the anniversary of passing of a loved one. As we remember the Shabbat, Sylvia Barag, Irving Barron, Richard Brindis, Joseph Brudney, Tessie Kahan, Milton Kander, Samuel Klein, Bonnie Kligerman, Evelyn Konigsberg, Howard Landis, Bart Lapin, Sheldon Lewis, Sarah Matischek, Hannah Robins, Morris Rosoff, Julia Russo, Rose Sapphire, Rose Spevek, Robert Turner, Bernard Wachtel, John J. Walsh Jr., Shirley Weingarten, Abraham Weintraub, and David Weiss. Are there any other names to add for yahrzeit at this time, either here or at home? We say Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of all these good people continue to be a blessing in our lives as we rise to offer the words of Mourner's Kaddish together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon yev'yomechon, v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'alam u'lamei al-maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, shemei d'kudashah b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushvichata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who causes peace in the heavens cause peace to descend on us, Israel, and the world, as we say, amen.
V'imru, 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 amen. V'imru, 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 amen.
Feel free to be seated. You'll find the words to the Shabbat Kiddush, blessing over the fruit of the vine, either on page 5 or on the screen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzav anu, Shabbat kodsho, bi'ava uvratzon, hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom tehillah, lemikrae kodesh, zecher l'tziat mi'Yisrael. Ki banu v'acharta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim. V'shabbat kodshecha, bi'ava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Chaim to life.
Hamotzi
Lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Some announcements. Many thanks to Michelle and to Joy for their beautiful music, and our tech crew of one in the back for his help. Thank you so much. The Sisterhood's Honey fundraiser is taking place. Bring some sweetness to the new year by purchasing a jar of delicious honey using the link that is found in our happenings email that we send out on Tuesday. Brotherhood has mailed, and all of you should have, a donation form for the Rosh Hashanah to the congregation, their main fundraiser. They do great things for the temple and need our support. Brotherhood is presenting a wonderful program, a Zoom live stream, on Sunday, August 8th at, get this time, 6:50 p.m., not 6:55, not 6:45, but 6:50 p.m., the Beatles Jewish Connection, led by Beatles enthusiast Jonathan Lightman. He did a great Jewish connection to baseball probably a couple months ago, and this is the Beatles version. You can just click on the link in the same happenings email. And the Social Action Committee is putting together a crew for the reverse Tashlik beach cleanup on Honeymoon Island. I would believe that this is going to have to be a very, very, very wide social distance type of spread out gathering, if you like the oxymoron there. It's going to take place on September 12th, and you can sign up to the Temple Ahavat Shalom team, repairthesea.org. For our closing song, We are going to sing, it's on page 249, the words of Psalm 99, Romamu Adonai Eloheinu exalt, Adonai our God. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishakavu lehar kosho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishakavu lehar kosho. Ye kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romamu. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romamu. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishakavu lehar kosho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishakavu lehar kosho. And get my trusty mask here for our final prayer for our health and well-being, not only ours, but the community around us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al shmirat hanefesh, for the mitzvah and sacred obligation to protect our lives and the lives of others. We're so glad that you joined us here, both in the sanctuary and at home. Wish you Shabbat Shalom until we see you next week. All right.